Here's how you're going to set up step 1 AWS Academy student login. Just search AWS Academy student login on Google Chrome browser. Just make sure you use Google Chrome browser. So in here, once you did the search, so you scroll down, you should be able to find a link with some Japanese characters. So just click on this link and that will allow you to get into AWS Academy login. There are two options, student login and educator login. So you just need to click on student login. Okay, once we're in the AWS Academy course, so you can see the dashboard. So they have a list of courses in here. So we want to find AWS Academy Learners Lab. So you can see they have a different names. That's we call a nickname. So if you don't like this, so we can click on the three dots right here, then change the nickname. So for example, we can take this one out, then we just click on save. Once we have done that, you can see that moved up. So now just be aware you have a starting day and ending day. So after this ending day, whatever the content stored in the instance inside this learner lab will be disappeared. So let's just set this thing up, and I'm going to set as a view as a student. So let me reset as a student. So once we've done that, basically the interface exactly is what you'll look like. So we can click on modules. So we want to launch AWS Academy Learners Lab. So just make sure you have about 10 to 15 minutes for this process. First step is we need to scroll all the way down. So you will be able to see, you can click on I agree. So that's basically, you will be able to see this window. And as it's spinning, so now it bring up this interface. You can see AWS is showing as red, so that means it's now start. So you can click on start lab. So they have a different option. Once you're done with the lab, just make sure you end the lab to save the AWS credits. And they have AWS detail, readme, but what we're interested in is to scroll down to see whether we can find more information in here. So one thing we need to use is a cloud9. So yeah, here's basically AWS cloud9. So you can see different instance will be supported. There's a 90 micro, but the one of the computer we can use is C4.x large. So this is the largest instance support for this particular service from AWS. And your network setting, you must choose secure shell SSH. So that does take some time to get everything set up. So while it's spinning, so that take maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So there's a 4-hour limits of this instance is running. And once they drop down 0, it's automatically end the lab. But let me also try to click on to open a GitHub link. github.com L by tempo. So we're going to choose ECE2613 as the lab we're going to use for the course. Just make sure you use a branch called cloud9. So let's go back here, and you can see now it ran from 4 hours to 3 hours 59 minutes. So it's already 1 minute, still nothing happening. So if you want to check it out, you can refresh the screen to see when anything changes. So that's the thing we need to make sure we get everything all set up. So it still take a lot of time while it's spinning. So sometimes if you need to find your AWS credential, you need to click on AWS detail. So for example, you want to log in using SSH key, that's what you're going to use. But we're not going to use that, so you can just close this. Just make sure you kind of just use this interface, and as this still showing as yellow, so let me refresh it again, see how far we are. And Yeah, so this is basically the first step, and it's just make sure you are waiting for this one change it from yellow to green. Okay, now it shows as a green, so that means I can go to AWS console. So once I click on this, maybe you had a previous login, so you can log out and you can close this. Now we click on this button again, so that will allow us to get into AWS Management Console. So you can click on this icon that will find all the AWS services, but sometimes hard to find. So we just type a search cloud9, so that we'll be able to find this service. We can click on this. Once we click on this, we can click on create a new environment. We can give a simple name of 2613. And we want to choose new instance. As you can see, this is a micro and a small and large. So they have 8 gigabyte of RAM and 2 virtual CPU. But we want a little larger, as the largest they allow us to use is a C4.X large. You can see 7.5 gigabytes of RAM and 4 CPU. Now, another important thing is that you want to use Ubuntu Server 22.04, select the secure shell, then just click on create. Once you get in here, then you will see this one, Cloud9 instance is created. Click on this. Obviously, you can create more environment, but the more environment you create, that's going to use more computation. So this is basically is going to be set up like that, and it does take maybe 1 or 2 minutes get this window set it up, and it's going to be booted up. But first thing we need to make sure is we want to make sure we upgrade it to the latest operating system. So this is if you scroll down in the Cloud9, and so we need to do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade -y. So the difference of this than the ECE1111 is that now you're managing your own computer instance on AWS. So we can copy this first line, then we come back here. So this is already set it up. So here's basically the window. In here is a file explorer window, and there's a sidebar window. We're not going to touch too much about this. Is the output window on the bottom, and this is the editor window. So since we are going to install the update, so we want to use the top one. By click on plus, we can click on new terminal, so you open the big terminal. You can also do in the output window is the output terminal is going to be pretty small, but what we want to do is to copy the command on the top window. So this is basically pretty simple and easy to do, but sometimes accidentally you may close all the bottom window, and then you won't see anything coming out from the bottom window. If you want to get it back, so you want to click on view, then you'll be able to see the output. So you may want to see output toolkit. So that basically will be able to show this on the bottom. You can open the new terminal window. So this is basically how you're going to going back and forth. I'm sure there are other things. For example, if you want to choose editor window, this is basically the top window in here. So you obviously can drag this window left, right, and you can also drag this window up, down. But let's just make sure we make this editor window as the same size, because we need accept a certain process in here, because in this window is a text window, so it does not work as you click on the mouse. They can pick anything you want. So sometimes we have to use a cursor, enter, or tab key, so we can navigate in the text mode of window. So this is basically how you use Cloud9. So, and obviously if you want to go back to the AWS Management Console, you can click on here, then you can go to dashboard. So now it can go back to this AWS Management Console. So that can go back and forth like that. Now let's go back to the cloud9. So we're almost done. So it's 99%. So that's a good sign. And now that is done. So you can see this text window has a pop up. So we'll want to click on this one. You can see always highlighted. You hit enter. So now you can see the A is highlighted. And if you use cursor, you can move up and down. But we want to go to OK. So the trick is to use tab key. So you can see the O is highlighted. So you can hit enter. So that's basically how you will be able to finish this. Now what we need to do is we do a sudo reboot. So we can copy and paste into here. So this is basically pretty simple and easy to do. And if that shows this, and you can close this, so it's pretty simple and easy. And now we will be able to see after reboot, you can do the following commands. So we can copy the top 3 lines all together. So now once it's up, and for example, that also shows something like that. You can refresh this window by click on this, or you can just simply close this. So for example, if you don't see this, and you can just click on this and open the terminal window. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to just copy paste the 3 commands. Then that's going to be running like that. So there's other stuff you can take a look at over there, but I'm not going to touch too much over there. So the idea in here is once I install all the software in here, what we need to make sure one of the software is called quartus. That's what we use for the 10 lite FPGA board. So this is the thing we want to make sure. We want after the installation, we want to check at least 2 of the thing that we need to make sure the software is installed properly. One is with extension file m_sim, another one is a QSF file. So this one takes about 20 minutes. So what we need to do is just be very patient, give you some time. Obviously you can walk away and come back in 15 minutes. That's also okay. So just make sure this process is finished. That does take some time. Okay, so now we're finished. So what we need to do is to do a sudo reboot again. And so we need to make sure we need to do about a 3 check, but we will do this first 2 check. So let's see, we can close this one and we go back to the AWS console while it connects. So it should be pretty quick and straightforward, and we can close this, and so we can close this. So one thing we're able to do is we see all the files are listed in here. So that's it with different weeks of labs. So we can open lab 1. So you should be able to see a lot of files. So one of the file is a gates.sv. So this is basically syntax highlighted. So you will be able to write code in here. And this is with extension .xv, but we want to find the .m_sim. So you can right click on this file and click on run. So you can see the output window with some outputs. So this is saying 4 mismatches because we have not implemented anything in the gates.sv file in the editor. So this is what you're going to do in the lab. So so that means that has output. So that means the software is installed properly. So the second file is the QSF file. So there are multiple QSF files. So this how we put everything together is we make sure is the lab number and the score top.qsf file. So this is the so-called hardware wrapper file. So we can click on this. So this is have all the things how we're going to wire the that to the FPGA. So you can either click on run once this file is in there, or you can right click on this. So once it's running, so it's going to create a multiple folder in the lab 1 subfolder. So we will be able to see there's going to create something called a bitstring file in the output underscore dot files. So we can open that, and while it runs this, and it's just going to go through everything. So what we need to make sure this a bitstring file is called .sof file. So this is the file we're going to use to load onto the FPGA if we have Contours programmer. So in this class, we're going to download .svf file using a browser to load the bitstring file onto the FPGA board. So another thing we need to check is to see whether they generate something called the .vcd file. That's basically after you've done the test bench, then that may have something like that. So in the main folder, we will be able to say it's a sem.vcd. So it's inside the Ubuntu environment and the ECE2613. So what we could do is we can click on preview and preview running application. So you can click on this expansion icon, so that pop up into a new window. So we can click on activity. So you may want to allow this, then you will see file cabinet right here. So click on that. So as what we said is in the home directory, you should be able to see environment folder ECE2613. So this is lab 1. So one file we want to check it out is the output file is sem.vcd. So this is a timing diagram file. So we can just double click on that. This is basically test bench underscore gates. So if we expand that, this is a UUT unit and the test. There's signals inside this UUT. So you can double click on the signal, or you can drag or drop this one into here. So you will be able to see all the signal in different picoseconds, but if you want to see the whole screen, you can click on zoom to fit. So now you will be able to see how the signal look like. And maybe I can add this one more in here. So this is basically how you will be able to do the timing diagram plot using this thing called a GTK wave. So once you have checked all of this, you know you have done the installation correctly. You finished the first lab.